It's Thursday, August 1st. I'm Priyanka Arabindi.
And I'm Juanita Tolliver, and this is What a Day, the show where we're having a better day than Olympic triathletes who had to swim 1,500 meters in Paris's famously filthy Seine River.
We here at What a Day are sending our thoughts, prayers, and most potent antibiotics to these brave Olympians. Oh my God.
Yeah, take those antibiotics now because it takes a few days for the infection to really set into your system.
On today's show, Israel continues to wage war in Lebanon and is being linked to an attack in Iran that killed a Hamas political leader. Plus, more exciting news from the Paris Olympics.
But first, on Wednesday, former president and convicted felon Donald Trump took to the main stage at the National Association of Black Journalists' annual convention in Chicago for a question and answer session with Rachel Scott of ABC News, Seema For's Kadia Goba, and Harris Faulkner of Fox News. In the lead up to the interview, there was tension surrounding the NABJ's decision to allow Trump to take the stage as convention co-chair Karen Attiah stepped down from her role in protest, and multiple featured speakers canceled their appearances at the convention. Meanwhile, other journalists expressed their support for NABJ leadership's commitment to featuring Trump as he is a presidential candidate, and inviting top presidential candidates is a long-standing tradition for the organization. Still, when the interview started, Trump wasted no time in disrespecting the Black women journalists on stage and Vice President Kamala Harris, including questioning Harris's Black and South Asian identity. But in the middle of Trump's ranting and raving, he did have this to say about his running mate, J.D. Vance.
When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what? Ready
on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him. And for the other candidates, too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact.
Okay. I will say he said some very disgusting things right from the top, like really right out of the gate. But he also failed to answer almost every single other question. But this one, no, he answered. He gave an answer. It's very clear what he thinks about this man.
Absolutely nothing. He thinks nothing of J.D. Vance. He's like, you're a throwaway. Got it. Moving on.
He doesn't mean anything.
Also, instead of replaying all of those vile things that Trump had to say about Black women and Black journalists, we're going to focus our attention on some of the reactions to the Q&A session, including from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Here's what she had to say from the podium in the White House press briefing room upon hearing some of Trump's statements about Vice President Harris.
No one has any right to tell someone who they are, how they identify. That is no one's right. It is someone's own decisions. Only she can speak to her experience. Only she can speak to what it's like. She's the only person that can do that. And I think it's insulting for anybody. It doesn't matter if it's a former leader, a former president. It is insulting.
Absolutely. It was really appalling just from the beginning of this appearance. I think this will follow him for a long, long time. I don't know if he thinks it will, but I believe it will. It was really some of the worst things we've seen on this campaign so far.
Right. I feel like it was the rollout to the racist portion of his reality TV show campaign. And
absolutely,
it is only going to continue to ramp up from here. While addressing the Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated 60th biannual Boulé event in Houston, Texas, Vice President Harris had this to say in response to Trump's appearance at the NABJ convention.
It was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect. And let me just say, the American people deserve better. The American people deserve better. The American people deserve a leader who tells the truth, a leader who does not respond with hostility and anger when confronted with the facts. We deserve a leader who understands that our differences do not divide us. They are an essential source of our strength.
Absolutely. And just to echo what the campaign and what Vice President Harris has said before, we are not going back.
Right. To get an insider's perspective of how Trump's Q&A session played in the room and how attendees reacted to NABJ's decision to feature Trump at the convention, I caught up with Ameshia Cross, political analyst for Sirius XM and frequent guest on MSNBC. I started by asking Ameshia about the energy in the room before Trump took to the stage, given the vocal opposition expressed by NABJ members in the hours since his interview was announced.
There were literally hundreds of people who were wrapped around the corner for this event. The doors opened officially for registration around 7:30 a.m. The doors to the actual room did not open until 11, but you had to go through intense amounts of security for obvious reasons. And there was not a seat empty in that room. So there was anticipation. I'm not going to say people were excited. I think that people were wondering why NABJ went through this process to begin with. They were also wondering if Trump would actually answer real questions, if he was going to come into a room with actual Black people, not the non-Black people who he filled a Black church in Detroit with, but real Black people, if he was going to answer questions that matter to our community, especially with an election cycle right on its heels. There were folks who were, quite frankly, upset that they were NABJ dues-paying members for years, many of whom had also brought their students here, journalism students. I was actually in a row with certain journalism students who were asking questions as to why a conference that is set on talking about disinformation would bring the king of disinformation to come and speak to them. So I think those were legitimate questions. But all in all, I think that there were people who were unsure of why this was even happening. There were people who were frustrated with NABJ leadership that he was even allowed to speak here. And there were also folks who were saying, this is a man who has attacked Black journalists, many of whom are actually in this room with us right now. This is a man who has attacked Black communities. This is a man who's attacked Black cities and Black mayors. Chicago's my hometown. My mayor is Black. He's targeted Chicago specifically. I think that there was a lot of frustration in that room and confusion as to how NABJ got to that point.
Now, throughout the interview, Rachel Scott in particular repeatedly pushed back against Trump's non-answers and his blatantly disrespectful comments and statements. So how was the crowd reacting to Trump's responses in real time?
Lots of boos. A couple of people actually, unfortunately, had to be removed because they were extremely loud in response to some of the things that he was saying. The comparisons between the Gaza protesters, the people who are protesting against the atrocities that are happening there, versus the convicted January 6th rioters, saying that those two were quite frankly similar and questioning why these individuals weren't also facing criminal penalty. In addition to blaming a lot of things related to the Black economy on migrants. I think that was the part that really started getting people going. And lastly, the argument that Democrats want to end pregnancy and basically end motherhood up to and including at 9 months and murdering kids thereafter. That got the most rousing, I think, upset from people, including the immediate former president of NABJ. She was in the front row. She got up and walked out immediately upon that statement. Rachel, unfortunately, did exactly what she should have done. The response was unfortunate. Her questions were not. She spoke to, hey, you've called the former president in Barack Obama. You spread birtherism. You basically denied that he was actually an American citizen. You've made these comments about specific journalists. And she was reading from the quotes that were things that Donald Trump actually said. And he sat there and he was very vitriolic in his response to her, called her nasty, his favorite word when it relates to women, and he would not let up. He attacked her for the entire rest of the forum. But I think one of the things that was also very poignant was that not only did this event start a little over an hour late, the reason was he was in the back with his staffers trying to negotiate out of having PolitiFact fact check him in real time. He did not want to take the stage if PolitiFact was going to fact check him in real time.
Hold on, because what he said on stage was their mics were messed up. Their system was broken. So this was about fact checking?
It was about fact checking. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the mics. Everyone in the room could hear completely audibly. And we're talking a room that had rows that went back 16, 18 deep. Everyone could hear. Donald Trump could definitely hear what was going on. This was not an issue. Donald Trump did not want to admit that he didn't want fact-checking to happen. He said that he didn't agree to that. It was wild. I honestly don't know what NABJ leadership expected out of this.
Let's jump to that. So based on how this interview with Trump unfolded, running an hour late, disrespecting Black women, disrespecting Black journalists, disrespecting Vice President Kamala Harris, what do you expect to see from NABJ leadership? What comes next for this organization?
I think that there are going to be a lot of people that push them to task off of this, because before it was the anticipation of what Trump might do, what he might say. Now we've seen what he was going to do and what he was going to say. He insulted the intelligence of everybody in that room and insulted the Black women on that stage, with the exception of his favorite Fox News host. It's something that is going to come down on NABJ's president. He has sent out multiple emails leading up to this event, basically trying to clear up some of the questions that were held online. We know that certain members, many of whom have been vocal, are not going to pay dues anymore. They're going to leave. You had board leaders actually decide that they were going to leave. There are sponsors who were talking about pulling out. This is not a place, I think, especially in this election cycle and this year, where it is okay to be racist full throttle, where it is okay to be sexist full throttle. He brought all of that with him to NABJ in a crowd of Black people where he clearly did not read the room.
One of the things that was reported is that the leadership of the conference was not willing to offer any accommodations to Vice President Kamala Harris to join virtually. How were conference attendees reacting to that choice by NABJ leadership and then their later reversal of that decision as arrangements are now being made for Vice President Harris to address the dues-paying members of NABJ virtually in September?
They thought that that was unbelievable. Many people in the line were talking about it before they actually went into this event, basically saying that it shouldn't have happened if Kamala Harris wasn't also extended some form to be able to appear virtually. In addition to that, that NABJ leadership basically just wanted to have a lot of media hits across multiple platforms, because that's the only reason why you would platform somebody like Donald Trump. It made no sense. It also made no sense to not accommodate the vice president, acknowledging that she stepped up to being at the top of the ticket a little over a week ago. So this is a very new thing. And she's also campaigning in battleground states. Her schedule is extremely tight at this point. Any accommodation would have been necessary, but also to be a nonprofit, to be someone who's a 501c3 group, to hear from both sides matters. And I think that because there were so many pop shots, for lack of a better term, that Donald Trump took at Kamala Harris on that stage, up to and including questions about her race, I think that it's very important that NABJ not only look intrinsically, but also listen to the voices of their actual members, the voices of journalists who covered this beat and others who, quite frankly, thought that this was disrespectful, that it was not only unfortunate, but that there was really a cleanup process being done in real time by NABJ because it had already been leaked that they really did not try to accommodate the VP. So coming back 24 hours later, based on the backlash they got from their membership, I think was very interesting. And it shows that they had a lack of introspection from the beginning.
That was my conversation with Ameshia Cross, political analyst for Sirius XM and frequent guest on MSNBC. And we will keep following this story as the National Association of Black Journalists prepares to conduct a virtual interview with Vice President Kamala Harris in September.
That is the latest for now. We'll get to some headlines in just a moment. But if you like our show, please make sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll be right back after some ads. What a Day is brought to you by Simply Safe. Are you the type of person constantly thinking about the safety of the people and things you value most? You should trust Simply Safe to protect your home. You'll sleep better every night knowing that Simply Safe's 24/7 monitoring agents are standing by to protect you. And if someone tries to break in, they can send emergency help when you need it most. It's summer. A lot of us are traveling away from home, outside of home more often, just enjoying the outdoors. That's great, but you just want to know that your stuff is safe and sound, how you left it, and Simply Safe can help you do that. Protect your home this summer with 20% off any new Simply Safe system when you sign up for Fast Protect monitoring. Just visit simplysafe.com/whataday. That is simplysafe.com/whataday. There is no safe like Simply Safe.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. When your schedule is packed, it's easy to let your priorities slip. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. I remember when I was first getting into therapy, I used BetterHelp to just give me an easy, accessible way to get into therapy. It helped me transition into in-person therapy. Highly, highly suggest it, particularly if you have a very busy schedule and you struggle to find time to care for yourself.
Totally. If you are thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, just like Tre'vell said. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
Yes, never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/WAD today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/WAD. What a Day is brought to you by Vuori. Everything Vuori makes is designed to work out in, but doesn't look or feel like it. Their clothes are so comfortable you will want to wear it literally all the time. You don't want to miss out on Vuori's signature Dream Knit material that will surround yourself with softness. Dream Knit stretches as you move and seamlessly mixes and matches across styles to make it the easiest and dreamiest thing in your closet, y'all. The fabric, it does honestly feel good. You can go to the gym if you would like, or you can sit on the couch or record a podcast, perhaps.
I honestly love my Vuori shorts because, I love everything I own from Vuori, but I put it on and I kind of am lazy in the morning, ease into my day, but then I'm already in workout clothes and then I can sneak in a quick little something a little more inspired that way, which is perfect. Vuori is an investment in your happiness. For our listeners, they are offering 20% off your first purchase. Get yourself some of the most comfortable and versatile clothing on the planet at vuori.com/WOD. That is VUORI.com/WOD. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on any U.S. order over $75 and free returns. Go to vuori.com/WOD and discover the versatility of Vuori clothing. Let's wrap up with some headlines.
Headlines.
Recent military actions in the Middle East have the potential to draw regional powers further into the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh was killed on Wednesday morning in Tehran after attending the inauguration of Iran's new president. Israel has not claimed responsibility for the attack, but Iranian officials see Israel as the obvious culprit, with the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, writing on X that the killing would be met with a, quote, harsh punishment. The assassination darkens prospects for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, since Haniyeh was deeply involved in those negotiations. In Beirut, Israel carried out an airstrike on Tuesday that killed a top commander of Hezbollah. At least 5 civilians were also killed and 74 wounded, according to the Lebanese health ministry. Israel claims that the commander was behind the weekend rocket strike on the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights that killed 12 children. Since October 7th, Israel has frequently traded low-impact strikes back and forth with Hezbollah, a Lebanese militant group. But the attacks of the past few days have onlookers concerned that things could escalate into a full-blown war.
At least 11 people have died in Venezuela during protests against the country's authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro, according to the human rights group Foro Penal. Venezuela's Maduro-aligned election authority declared him the winner of elections on Monday, but numerous irregularities have cast doubt on the result. Since Monday's announcement, researchers associated with the opposition alliance in Venezuela have shared partial election results, which the New York Times confirms shows retired diplomat Edmundo Gonzalez in position to beat Maduro by more than 30 percentage points. On Wednesday, Maduro expressed support for an audit of the election by Venezuela's Supreme Court, but outside observers have pushed back, saying the court is too closely connected to Maduro. Citing no evidence, Maduro's regime has described the demonstrations against it as an attempted coup.
The Federal Reserve opted to leave interest rates unchanged on Wednesday, but officials suggested that a long-anticipated rate cut could come as soon as September. The Fed has kept rates at their current 2-decade high of around 5.3% since last July in an effort to bring down inflation. Speaking to reporters after the decision, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that a reduction in rate could happen as soon as September if the central bank continues to see signs that inflation is cooling without major disruptions to the labor market. Asked about the timing of a possible rate cut just months before the presidential election, Powell said, quote, anything we do before, during, or after the election will be based on the data. He did not add this part of the quote. This is me, but as it should be. This is what people should be doing.
And finally, the Paris Olympics became Fear Factor on Wednesday as triathletes were made to swim in the notoriously disgusting Seine River. Officials in France had spent the equivalent of $1.5 billion cleaning up the Seine ahead of this year's games. But rainstorms over the weekend nearly thwarted their efforts by dumping sewage into the river and raising bacteria levels so much that the men's competition scheduled for Tuesday had to be delayed. Thankfully, by Wednesday morning, samples taken from the Seine were passing necessary tests, and athletes were able to jump into the inviting brown river. One competitor later said, quote, it didn't taste great.
Disgusting.
But according to the Wall Street Journal, the water passed the very low bar of not making everyone who swam in it sick.
I don't know. Give it a few days. We do not know that for a fact. But in other Olympics news, the U.S. women's gymnastics team took home gold on Tuesday, and returning champ Simone Biles celebrated the win with just a tiny side helping of shade. A month ago, former Team USA gymnast Michaela Skinner trashed the current team online, insulting their, quote, talent and, quote, work ethic in a since-deleted video. After that same team won gold, Biles posted a celebratory photo on Instagram with the caption, quote, lack of talent, lazy Olympic champions. Last time I checked, it had racked up north of 3 million likes on the platform. And wrapping things up, the latest breakout Olympic celebrity is South Korean sharpshooter Kim Ye-ji. She won silver on Sunday, but she took home the gold for style with her asymmetrical steampunk glasses, pocket-dangling stuffed elephant, and overall, oh, is this the Olympics vibe? If you haven't seen, you should Google it. Just an icon, really.
Yeah, from the posture to the hand in the pocket, top-notch casual vibes at the Olympics. I also want to go back to this Michaela Skinner, Simone Biles beef because,
yes,
one, thank you, Simone, for checking her with the gold medal. And two, special shout out to Michaela Maroney, who was in the comments like, I feel like I need to apologize to reclaim my first name, because she was like, I'm not her. She ain't me.
I feel really bad for Michaela Maroney, actually, because I'm sure there was a person on our team who was like, wait, I thought it was that girl who made the face. Her name's Michaela. No, there is another Olympic gymnast, not Michaela Maroney, who is cool, who said this. We like Michaela Maroney. She's good in our book. And those are the headlines.
One more thing before we go. The election is less than 95 days away, and whether you're falling out of a coconut tree or anxiously clinging to one, now is the time to volunteer, donate, and canvass your butt off for progressive candidates and initiatives up and down the ballot. Sign up for a shift at votesaveamerica.com and pick up a canvassing kit for yourself or maybe a friend in a swing state. It has all the essentials for a day of door knocking, including a clipboard, pens, Band-Aids, yes, you will need Band-Aids, a tote bag, and more. The Cricket Store gives back with every order to support organizations doing incredible work across the United States. To make sure every voice can be heard, head to cricket.com/store to get your kit right now.
That is all for today. If you like the show, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, be grateful that you didn't have to swim in the Seine, and tell your friends to listen.
And if you're into reading and not just transcripts of Kamala Harris clapping back at Donald Trump like me, What a Day is also a nightly newsletter. Check it out and subscribe at cricket.com/subscribe. I'm Juanita Tolliver.
I'm Priyanka Arabindi. And
Simone Biles for president. Okay, one, that baby don't want that job.
No.
Two, she already knows what she's amazing at. Keep doing your thing. And if you don't want to do that anymore either, chill.
Maybe we'll settle for an endorsement. That's all we need.
Right.
What a Day is a production of Crooked Media. It's recorded and mixed by Bill Lance. Our associate producer is Raven Yamamoto. We had production help today from Michelle Alloy, Ethan Oberman, John Milstein, Greg Walters, and Julia Clare. Our showrunner is Erica Morrison, and our executive producer is Adrian Hill. Our theme music is by Colin Gilliard and Kashaka.
At Ashley, you'll find colorful furniture that brings your home to life. Ashley makes it easier than ever to express your personal style with an array of looks in fun trending hues to choose from earth tones to vibrant colors to calming blues and greens. Ashley has pieces for every room in the house in the season's most sought-after shades. A more colorful life starts at Ashley. Shop in store, online today. Ashley, for the love of home.
Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. With the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers. In fact, Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/podcastfree. All lowercase, shopify.com/podcastfree, shopify.com/podcastfree.